Okay, so today we're going to start by looking at coordinates. And can anyone tell me anything about coordinates before we get underway? Thomas?
They're used to find places.
Yep. What else? Anything else? Jamie?
They're used on maps.
Yep, they're used on maps. How about the way that we arrange coordinates? So I've got some examples here where we've got these coordinates here as a pair of numbers. Can anyone tell me about those and what they mean? Flynn?
Isn't it the y-axis and the x-axis, y comes first, where it's so it'd be 2 there and then 2 there, so it'd be about.
So just take a step back. What were you saying about axes?
I think it's the y-axis.
So you've got an x-axis and a y-axis, and that's the way that our coordinates are organised. Okay, you right, Oliver? Yep. Okay, we'll just focus on this. We'll worry about the breeze later. Okay, so we've got two numbers. One is representing x, one's representing y, and then Flynn was talking about this y-axis going up and down and this x-axis going sideways. So what I'm going to start by doing is drawing in a y-axis that goes up and down and an x-axis that goes sideways. So like you guys, I'm going to use a ruler. Unlike you guys, it's a little bit harder to draw that on here than it is in your books, but I'll try my best anyway. So you've got a horizontal line, and then we've got a vertical line. And what we do at the end of each line is just put in an arrow to show that those lines go on for infinity in either direction. Okay? So when we're doing any kind of graph, if it's in maths or if it's in statistics or geography or whatever, what's some important things that we do with that graph? Jamie? Label it. So I'm going to label my two axes. So this axis, my horizontal axis, is my x-axis, and I always label the x-axis. Okay? The vertical axis going up and down, that's my y-axis. So I always label it y. Alright, quickest way to lose a mark in a test on graphs is not to label your axes. Okay, so that's one thing, label. What's something else I can label or put on my graph before I go any further? Cameron? Numbers. Okay, so I'll just go up in groups of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just using the squares that I've been given on my axes. Okay, so I'll do the same for x. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now I've got this negative space over here. How am I going to label those? Thomas? Yep, with negative numbers. So we'll just go -1 on this side, then -2, and go down the negative continuum as we go down the axis. And then the same for our y. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, now just because I've finished labelling there, it doesn't mean that it doesn't go on any further. Alright, it's just that I'm interested in only these points as they are. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to look at this example number 4, and we've got these 3 points that we've been asked to plot. So with this first one, 5, -3, how do I know which is my x coordinate and which is my y coordinate? Cameron?
X is first.
Yep, x is always first. So I come to 5 on my x-axis, and I'm going to track down how far? To -3. Okay, so if I think about it from the other way, I'm tracking from -3 across. And where those points intersect, that's my first point. Alright, I'm just going to label that A, because that's the point A that we're plotting. Alright, question B, we've got 2, 2. Where's that going to be? Thomas, do you want to come up and point to it on screen, and I'll draw it where you point to it? Excellent. Okay, next point, point C. Who wants to come point at that? Thanks, Flynn. So -1, 4. Cool, thanks, Flynn. And our last point, who wants to do the grand finale? Daniel, thank you. -4 on the x, 5 on the y.
You got this.
Find that point. Great. So -4 on the x and -5 on the y. Okay. So that's plotting points. The opposite of plotting, of course, is reading. So our next example, we're looking at reading points off a graph. So point A, this point up here, can somebody tell me what coordinates I'd assign to that point? Dougal?
5.
Pardon?
5 and 3.
5 for the x coordinate and 3 for the y coordinate. Alright, hands up, question B. Keegan?
4 and negative 5. Oh, 3 and negative 5.
3 negative 5, yep. Point C, hands up. Flynn?
-1 and -3.5.
We'll go with negative 3. I think it is in the corner of that point.
Right.
Okay. Question D, hands up.
Where's
Thomas?
Um,
Up the top.
-3 and 4.
-3 and 4 on the y-axis. And finally, E. Daniel?
negative 4 and 0?
-4 and 0. Why is it 0?
Because it's on the line.
Alright, because it's on that line. Alright, so when you've got a point on an axis, then it's going to have 0 for whatever it is. So that's 0 on the y-axis and -4 on the x. Okay? So those two examples, guys, are on OneNote for you, so you can look those up and get your own copy of notes. The work that we're doing today is exercise 7B, and you can get started on that once you've got those notes in your book. Thank you.